Right, you see a good example there of Dimitri's athleticism right there as he's able to find a crease up the center there, and he made that nice little spin move to get himself to the outside, and that's kind of what we talked about, St. John's taking advantage of skilled players.
Mitsopoulos committed to the University, or I should say Miami University of Ohio in the offseason.
Yeah, and that should be a really good match for him, and as you know, those athletes are able to make that decision in the offseason. It does take a little bit of pressure off them going into their senior year.
Titans come out with 4 wide receivers. And C.J. Valentine in the backfield as Lichtenberg to throw on first down. Throws down the seam. Pass is caught inside the 30-yard line. Pass was caught by Jack Ryder. Was a quarterback last year. Lost the quarterback battle to Brady Lichtenberg and got moved to wide receiver. He turned in a nice 2018 campaign from the wide receiver spot.
Right, just a nice little seam route right there. Looks like Bowling Green staying in the cover through as you see an inside handoff.
And Valentine bounces his way inside the 20 down to the BG 15. Inside the red zone already for the Titans on just 2 plays.
And a good mix of play calling right there.
Well, the Bobcats are going to be hoping that their guys in the trenches, Dylan Krogel and Max Fosnaugh, can kind of stem the tide, but so far so good for the Titans. Swing pass out into the flat to Mitsopoulos, who's wrapped up and taken down behind the line of scrimmage. Good pursuit there by the Bobcats.
Right, nice job of getting a lot of hats on the ball there. You and I talked pregame about that. St. John's was limited in their yards rushing last year, and we talked about that swing pass just being nothing but a long handoff, and we kind of saw an example of it right there.
Well, as the spread offense continues to become more and more prevalent with a lot of teams at the high school level, you're going to see more and more of that as the years go by.
You see Bowling Green here going man-to-man.
Lichtenberg going for the end zone. Pass is caught in the corner. Touchdown, Thomas Zyrus. Beautiful ball from Brady Lichtenberg on the fade. 6-0 Titans, 10:53 into the game.
What a pass, and we just talked about how Bowling Green matched up man-to-man, and Lichtenberg just looked for his matchup, and he went to his big fella, and he dropped a perfect ball here in the corner of the end zone.
Couldn't script a better start for Larry McDaniel and the St. John's Jesuit Titans as Gabe Chablowski on to kick the extra point. This was a little bit of an adventure early on for the Titans a year ago. Chablowski won the job, didn't miss an extra point last year. We'll see if I jinx him here. Kick is up, kick is good, and just like that, it's 7-0 St. John's, 10:53 to go here in our first quarter. And Scott, again, if you were scripting a start for the Titans, they couldn't have asked for a better one.
Right, that's exactly what we talked about. They came out with their game plan. I'm sure that Coach McDaniel had those plays scripted well in advance before tonight's opening drive and executed everything flawlessly. And when you have a quarterback like Lichtenberg that's able to put the ball right where he wants, it's going to make it very tough for the Bobcats secondary. Regardless, we saw a little bit of both zone and man-to-man there, but it's going to be hard for them to find those matchups and be able to stay with those receivers and the skilled players of St. John's.
Well, you talked about being a high school football coach. How much do you like scripting opening plays like that? Some coaches like it, some coaches don't. Where were you on that?
There is. I like that. I like having plays script. You work on the all week in season, your first 12 to 15 plays.
Mm-hmm.
But if you talk to any offensive coordinator, when your play calling is going well and it's executing, it's the greatest job in the world. Of course, when it's not, it is a very frustrating experience for all involved.
Back deep for the Bobcats to receive this kickoff. Number 7, Nicholas Foster. Number 21, Phil Albright. Chablowski will kick off here after the Titans on a big first drive, already 7-0 here at Leiden Field.
And we talked about how the spread offense is becoming more prevalent in the high school levels. Well, here when Bowling Green gets the ball, we're going to see a little bit of a different type of offense with their flex bone.
Squib kick's going to be taken by the up back. Bounces it out to the left side to the 25 and taken down just shy of the 30.
That's
Brandon Tucker on the return. So we'll get a look at what new quarterback Eli Brown will do for the Bobcats. Won the job in camp. Talked to Coach Connor before the game and earlier this week. He really likes what Eli brings to the table. He warned me right away, he's going to get better with time. But this is a very difficult offense when you run a spread or even a flex bone offense the way that they run this, that you have to learn the reads, and that's very difficult.
Right, the read takes time, and the only way you get it is at game speed during games.
Hand off to Dylan Swalls, the tailback, who's across the 30 to the 34.
And that's just a quick hitting inside off the guard there. For Bowling Green to be successful tonight, that's the kind of offense we're going to have to see, that 3 to 4 yard, possess the ball, keep the clock running, and keep that vaulted St. John's offense on the sidelines.
Well, as you said, just grind it out. The less Brady Lichtenberg has the ball in his hands, the better off you're going to be. Brown under center once again. Will roll to his left on a quarterback keeper across the 35, and will get the first down up across the 40 to the 41. And that's what Dirk Connor wants to see, just move the sticks and, as you said, burn some clock.
Right, and that's one of the things he said about Brown, is just a very competitive kid. He likes to have the ball in his hands. He's always looking to make things happen. And that flex bone is kind of a triple option kind of offense, and puts a lot of pressure on the defense in knowing the run fits and their gap assignments. And if just one person gets off that route, misses their run fit, and then obviously those gaps open up, and it's up to Eli to make those reads.
Man in motion again. Brown hands off to Swalls up the middle. And he's met by a host of Titans there in the hole. So still a pretty decent gain despite the initial contact at the line of scrimmage.
And that's probably the strength of Bowling Green's offense, is their offensive line. As you know, you got Max Fosnaw returning, the first all-team, first-team NLL performer last year.
Well, and the other guy that Coach Connor talked about before was Dylan Krogel. He said he doesn't get nearly enough attention, and Max gets all the credit, but Dylan's just as good, made some big plays in camp. As Brown to throw on second down. Pass is high, but it's caught out across midfield up near the 45.
And that's just a quick little, what they used to call a button hook right there. You just got to go 8 yards and turn around and let the quarterback find you in that open area.
Phil Albright on the reception, 1st and 10 Bobcats into Titan territory.
And same as St. John's offense, if you're Bowling Green right now, you're feeling pretty confident about what you're doing. They're getting positive plays on every snap of the ball.
Well, when you run the flex bone and you're trying to prepare as an opposing defense, it doesn't matter how good your scout team's at running it. It's never the same until you see it in person.
You're absolutely right. You got to make those adjustments.
Swalls with another tough run again up across the 40 to the 39 of St. John's.
And that's the case right there where St. John's did make the right reads, but Bowling Green's offensive line was just physical off the ball right there. And that's part of the adjustments that St. John's D linemen are making right now. And as you talked about, regardless how much you practice, the speed of the game, especially on opening night when you have everybody out here, you know, the fervor of opening night and the excitement of overnight, the speed of the game is a certain adjustment that you have to make.
So far, so good for the Bobcats, who have marched into St. John's territory on their first drive. Brown under center again.
Here they're just a double tight formation.
Pitch to the right. Up across the 30 inside the 25. Nice run by Nick Foster. And another first down, and Bowling Green carving up this Titan defense. This is a Titan defense that only returned 3 starters from a year ago. There is a flag down. And that's going to back the Bobcats up. So a good gain is negated there. But if you're St. John's, even though you have the penalty there, you still have to be a little concerned that Bowling Green has had very little issue moving right down the field.
Correct. Right now, Bowling Green's been able to do what they wanted to do on the offensive side of the ball. And it'll be up to St. John's defensive players and defensive staff to make their adjustments right now. You know, from a bird's eye view here, St. John's is getting themselves in the right locations. But right now, Bowling Green's just a little bit more physical at the point of attack. And, you know, we talked about the athleticism of St. John's. Remember, there's some athletes on Bowling Green, too, so it's not like you're a big difference here in caliber of play. So the safety's walking up now.
What Brown does is he's pestered in the backfield, slipped a tackle, will throw downfield, put everything behind it. Has a man behind the defense. It's caught inside the 15, 10-5, touchdown. I believe that's Nick Foster again. And touchdown, Bobcats. What a play by Eli Brown out of the pressure.
And that's exactly what we talked about with Coach Connor, how Brown being a competitive kid there. He bounces off a tackle, almost running for his life, but was able to get his head downfield and make a throw and give his receiver a chance. And conversely, St. John's secondary kind of looked like he was going to be tackled, I think, and they kind of got their heads in the backfield and lost where the receivers were going.
Well, you and I were talking about that Whitmer St. John's game from a year ago, And that almost looked like shades of Riley Keller to Zach Walling in the back of the end zone on that final play a year ago.
They just lost track of where the receivers were. Looked like they were in a zone. And so as they were passing the receivers off, they just kind of lost where they were.
Extra point by Ethan Warner is good. We're knotted at 7. If you're an offensive coordinator for either team, you're thrilled. If you're a defensive coordinator, you've already ripped the headset off.
Yeah, you're asking for a raise right now. You're looking at your head coach going, come on, who's your guy? Getting your money right now.
Well, as we were saying, again, this St. John's defense, just 3 returning starters. Austin Perkins will start at linebacker. He played a lot last year, but did not start for the Titans. But this is a unit that when you ask Larry McDaniel what he's concerned about, it's this Titan defense because they're young and inexperienced, and if they want to reach the heights that they would like to this year, they're going to have to get their feet under them very quickly, especially with this early non-conference schedule going into track play. It's not easy for St. John's. They have Central and Whitmer back-to-back weeks.
Absolutely, and one of the concerns you have as a head coach, if you have a really solid offense that can score, is you're worried that your defense leaves it up to your offense. And then you don't want to get in those shootouts because you've been around long enough. Anything can happen out if you're in a shootout. So you really want your defense to stand up, and as you know, you don't give up any points. You always got a chance to win the game as we see the kickoff here.
Warner's kick angled to Mitsopoulos, who gets it just shy of the goal line. He's across the 15 at the 20 and wrapped up and taken down just shy of the 25. And Brady Lichtenberg and his offense look to repeat exactly what they did on that first drive, 3 plays and a touchdown.
Right. And again, another good example of Dimitri's hands right there. That ball actually right there is above his hands. Real nice soft hands in order to cradle that ball and make that catch and get himself up the field. Now the adjustment will be Bowling Green's going to try to stay to that zone if they're going to go to man-to-man, and that's kind of pick your poison here right now against Lichtenberg.
Well, Eli Brown just got done throwing a touchdown pass. He lines up at corner across from Zyrus, and Lichtenberg in the gun with 4 wide. Lichtenberg swings it out to Carson Toth, who's across the 35 up near the 40, breaking a few tackles up near midfield already, and the Titans on the march once more.
Right, and that'll go in the books as a pass, but as we talked about, that's just a long handoff right there. You had Bowling Green in a cover 2 of the 2 deep safeties, and you got a cornerback in the flats, but he's got 2 receivers, and so that makes it pretty difficult. You kind of hope that your linebacker can run with the flare pass, but he's got to respect the dive, so puts a lot of pressure on kids.
Handoff to Toth up the middle and tackled for no gain on the play. Expect that Valentine on the carry. But as you said, Scott, you look at the stats for Brady Lichtenberg, almost threw for 3,000 yards. We certainly know a lot of those were swing passes out of the backfield. They certainly make your quarterback look better. Not that Brady Lichtenberg's not talented, but certainly the stats go off the charts when you do that stuff.
It helps. It helps you downfield game, too.
Offsides called here on the Bobcats, so 5 yards in the positive for the Titans.
Offside call on the Bobcats.
Right, you're talking about Lichtenberg. He had just the 3 interceptions last year, and 2 were in the game 1 last year against Bowling Green, so I'm sure he has that in the back of his mind, and that's why he came out and answered that first drive the way he did.
Titans were driving down to tie the game. They were down by a touchdown, and Lichtenberg threw a pick at the goal line as time expired, and that was a surprising loss for them a year ago as the handoff to Valentine once more. Cuts his way through the middle of the field and taken down near the 35. And I'll be honest, I'm surprised at how much St. John's has run the football. We talked about this before the game. Not really their MO to run a whole heck of a lot, but they've certainly trusted their tailbacks, both seniors, so far in the game.
Yeah, if you can do it early in the year, remember, not only you play in this game, but you know that your opponents are scouting you. And the more that you can show and do successfully, the more difficult it becomes for your future opponents as far as preparing for you and getting their scouts correctly.
Twin receivers to either side of the line. Lichtenberg to throw on first down. Pressured out of the pocket. Swings it out to Valentine on a little swing route. Gets across the 30 near the 28-yard line. So 2nd and short coming up for St. John's.
And that's just Braden's experience right there. There's a cover 3. He had a little bit of pressure, easily stepped up, and he knew exactly where his outlet pass was and just made a nice, easy pass out there.
Titans with a little bit of tempo and just got Bowling Green to jump off sides again. Looks like Foss now maybe the offender down there.
And that could be another addition. We talked about the maturity of Lichtenberg, and quite frankly, the whole staff and the whole backfield, the whole line. With one more year together like that, you can start doing hard cards more. You got a little more familiarity with each other. Makes it a little bit more different. Gives you a little more sync on your offense.
Lichtenberg under center for the first time tonight. Will keep it himself, and Bowling Green snipped that out. Ball was loose on the field, picked up by the Bobcat defense, and the return man is going to trip and fall short of midfield. Ball was picked up by Dylan Swalls, and what a turnover there. We talked about doing what you do well. That's not something we've seen St. John's do so far this year, and it didn't go very well there for Brady Lichtenberg.
Right, that's those are the ones when you deviate from what you're used to doing and what you're consistent with. It's always a little bit of a risk. And I'm sure they ran that play 100 times in practice.
Exactly.
And he never dropped the ball, but unfortunately he does right there. And we talked about that when you and I were down before the game about for Bowling Green on paper to really have a chance to close out this game later. They were going to need to be on the plus side of the turnovers, and it's a good example right here. And they end up with the ball pretty much in midfield after coming off a nice offensive drive.
Brown with a receiver to either side under center. As a handoff up the middle, goes for short yardage there.
And
Connor Kieran on the carry.
And that's just a play where Brown's just reading that down tackle. And looks like he probably should have held on to it right there as the tackle was sliding down, and he decided to give it to the fullback, and that comes with that experience of making those reads.
It's always funny when you see Navy, for example, when they're breaking a new quarterback, that guy just gets better and better every year, and then by the end, he's an all-league or an all-conference guy because of how good he gets at making those reads. As Brown with another handoff up the middle again. Better yardage that time up into St. John's territory at the 45. It was Kieran on the carry. You've got Swalls on the sideline, probably still trying to catch his breath after that fumble return.
Yeah, exactly.
Here he comes back out of the field.
He got a little gassed on it. Now he's all right.
Swalls is 6'1", 192. He's a big back for these Bobcats.
And even on that last play, even though it ended up being a dive, just that little toss Brown shows